Hello everyone, this is OG. Today I have a wonderful guest, and we're gonna have a very interesting conversation. Let me first start by introduce the guest because I'm very excited. So Kit Cox, CEO of Innate. Hi Kit, nice to have you on the call.
Hey, Archie, good to see you. Good to see you.
Okay, so today we're gonna have a little bit of a conversation around uh, service delivery and your view, your take on what has changed, what is changing, and how can we really help, in 2025 using AI technology, everything that is related to delivering the services, right? So I'm gonna go straight to the point here. The first question, which is for me interesting, is to compare what is happening nowadays versus the baseline situation 10 years ago, right? So in a nutshell, 10 years ago, if you were delivering services, most of the delivery team, you had a little bit of a mess, right? You had lots of siloed system, lots of context switching, lots of spreadsheet, lots of emails. According to you, in context of the AI, in context of orchestration capability, what has changed today?
Okay. So, I mean, in some ways, not very much has changed because in some ways, a service is quite often defined by how your customers want to interact with you. Yeah. And particularly in B2B services, which is the space that I work mostly in, actually the ways that customers choose to interact is still pretty much the same. There is still an enormous volume of email coming across from customers. That is one of the main routes they choose to receive service by. Yes, there are some self-service routes into service delivery and service management platforms. But actually, for most B2B services, they're not wondrous and they're not comprehensive. And there are many B2B service providers who are still in a similar state of chaos. Yeah. And the chaos comes about because, yeah, firstly, the way that your customers want to interact with you. And secondly, because of the way that services businesses grow. You grow a service business by saying yes to your customers. Yeah. No, nobody likes a service provider that turns around to them and says, no, we can't do that for you. It's that's too difficult, too complete. You grow a service business by saying yes. And what that means is that whilst you might aspire to this glorious, simple, standardized way to deliver the same service like a cookie cutter every time, actually, that's not the case because you've said yes to delivering it in this way for this customer and yes to delivering it in a slightly different way for
Yeah.
another customer. And that's how the chaos comes about. It's the chaos of success. Yeah. You grow by succeeding by saying yes. But you then come to a point, most service businesses come to a point where they've grown successfully and said yes a lot. And they then have tens or hundreds or thousands of customers with little variances in how the service is delivered. Yeah. And that's the challenge that comes into continuing to grow them and continuing to deliver exceptional service. Because those are the things that have not changed. Those are the things that are totally constant.
Yep.
Customers expect great service or they walk. Yeah. Your overlords, whoever they might be, whether they are private equity, your shareholders, or just the management, expect growth. That is the consistent. Yeah. So back 10 years ago, we were probably at the tail end of a whole bunch of experiments and varying forms of success around people getting excited around business process management, as it was called at the time, and loads of technologies like Lombardi and Metastorm and all sorts of things like that being implemented to try and automate this delivery of service. Trouble is, they ran up against that problem of everyone's different. So most of those experiments in the business process management world collapsed Because unless you were delivering genuinely commoditized services, which you find in some corners of B2C, not so much in B2B, yeah, you couldn't handle the variance in them. It was just too much like hard work to manage the variance. So that's where we were 10 years ago. Then over the last, few years, everybody got excited about versions of, great, we don't have to do all of that heavy lifting anymore. Now we can start picking up aspects of it in RPA and things like that. Yeah. Because everybody had some exciting moments around RPA, and you and I first met around those kind of topics. Yeah. Uh, the reality for service delivery there is that RPA became improved itself quite useful in the last stage of delivering a service. Yeah. And still is, along with API integration and iPaaS and all of those kind of technology. And the last stage of delivering any service is just do it. You know what you've got to do for your customer. You've got all of the data together. Just do it. Go and update the systems, go and create the response, send it back.
Yeah.
But
So if I
first
may,
is
if
that,
if
go
I
on,
may,
yeah.
yeah, if I may add here, just to
Yeah.
share my experience, because
Yeah.
I've many years of let's say working in service delivery. So I think your analysis is spot on, in a sense that despite all the willingness to standardize and to try to convince clients to use an off-the-shelf solution that includes a tool that includes well defined standardized processes, they we typically, as you said, are nice to the client and end up saying yes to a lot of things, including taking over their technical debt, their own tools, including customizing the processes, so on and so forth, right? Including adding a whole bunch of variants into the system, which is, as you said, I fully agree with that. It is still happening today. There's actually an expectation today that because of the technology, because of the power of technology, people consider that we should be able to mass customize everything we do, right? So again, I think one of the key topic here that is really interesting is to look at, as you mentioned at the beginning, look at very old technology, starting by email. And I say old because despite all the improvement of technology, despite all the bells and whistles that we see around AI, uh, email today is still the backbone of the communication, both internal as well as external, so client-facing communication for many services, many businesses. We are in a situation still today where this is, the lion's share of the exchanges that is happening between a company and their clients, right? So I think it is interesting to spend maybe a few minutes and talk about uh, what you consider AI is able to do, able to bring today to the table to help with that, 20, 30, 40 years old problem, which is, emails.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is the place where stuff really is changing now. Yeah. So in the last year and a half, this is the place where we are seeing really material, really successful change. So email, the most of the problem we're dealing with email is at the start of delivering a service. It's you've got an email that's coming from a customer. It's probably coming to some shared mailbox. Yeah. The finance services at whoever.com mailbox. But actually, then the first thing you got to do is figure out which of the many services you provide the customer is asking you to provide in that email. Yeah. So you've got a categorization problem up front. Yeah. They've sent you an email, but you have a menu of services that you deliver. Which one of the things on the menu are they buying or are they asking for this time around? So that categorization thing, that's the first thing that we can do with email and do that really successfully now. Because categorization in service delivery tells you what SLA you're running to. It tells you what skill set needs to deal with it. it gets it to the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So categorization isn't just to give it a useful tag. It is give it to the right people, understand when it's got to be completed by, start understanding what data you need to deliver it. Yeah. So that's the first bit that we can do. And that we're seeing very successfully at scale now. Sentiment is another thing that you can start to process in real time from emails that are coming in. Now, most services businesses, as well as saying yes to their customers as a way to grow, yeah, they grow by delivering a great service. And customers who receive a great service buy more stuff from the same service provider.
Yeah.
Yeah, and customers who receive a bad service go and find another one. So things like net promoter score correlate very strongly to in-account growth in service providers. But the problem is, net promoter score is a rearview mirror. Yeah, you do an NPS survey once every 6 months and you go, crap, that customer was really annoyed with us. And then you throw the rearview mirror away and you try and do some stuff and you pick the next mirror up 6 months later. Whereas with real-time sentiment analysis, you can actually capture data that correlates to net promoter score in real time just by assessing the sentiment of each email. And the really funny thing that we see in this as we get it to production at real scale now is that absolute sentiment is a nonsense. Yeah. There is no such thing as this customer is satisfied or this customer is unsatisfied because guess what? There are a whole bunch of stereotypes and stuff that come with it. You know, we genuinely see that the average sentiment on emails that we handle from Poland is different to the average sentiment on emails that we handle in America. But what you see is that this gentleman in America is slightly less happy than he was last week, which is slightly less happy than he was the week before. This client overall is slightly happier than they were 2 weeks ago. So the relative numbers are what tell you information. The relative numbers give you the actionable data to go and drive sales. Who thought of that from handling an email to do something with a client? Actually giving you actionable data to go and sell more services
Yeah.
or deal
Yeah.
with attrition. Yeah.
I I think this is truly a game changer, right? So the first part, which is being able to understand when you receive an email, what's inside and what we have to do with it. This is something that we've been trying and slash struggling to do. And as you said, right, this categorization, classification, understanding of the problem, the intent, the request, being able to route it to the right teams. This is really allowing, some automation because you don't need a human in the mix here to understand this, you know, totally unstructured, probably, badly written email because it was written, quickly or with someone that doesn't have, English as a native language. So this is very powerful because it's really fixing here one of the one of the major blocking point of being able to automate the inbound. And then on the sentiment analysis, I fully agree with you, right? So German versus Spanish versus American versus, I don't know, Japanese, they will have a different level of, expressing what they feel. And as you said, the great thing here is you can do trending over time so
Yeah.
that you can abstract the specificity of a given culture, and you don't end up comparing apple versus I don't know, pear, right? It's
Yeah.
actually you take the same culture, you trend over time, and you see if you are trending up or down. And as you said, fully aligned with that, happy customer directly correlated to business growth at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that is, and that's the game that we're in. Yeah, we're in the cost-cutting game. So that idea of automating some stuff, great. I can take some cost out.
Yeah.
Growing revenue, that's ultimate success. Yeah. Uh, and then you get as you get down the service value chain, so you go from a great, I've categorized it, I've understood where this person's coming from. Then you get into the most complicated bit of service delivery is the next bit, which is dealing with the fact that you almost certainly don't have enough information to actually provide the service that the customer's asking you for. Yeah. So you know what service you're trying to provide, but you are either missing data that they're meant to have sent you, or that you need to go and fetch from another system that may or may not be correct in that other system. And that stage is where we now get into more of the agentic and analytical use cases for AI. Yeah. Which we're just starting to see bubble. Yeah. So we've got the just do it phase of service delivery. Yeah, that's RPA, iPaaS, etc. Pretty handy there. The initial bit service initiation, the categorize it, understand the sentiment. Yeah, we're pretty handy there. And then in the middle stages, get the data together. It's where you're dealing with all of the variances that your customers created because they've asked you a slightly daft question or half a question and given you half the information. All of the variances that come from your underlying systems of which system is this data in? Is it in the old policy management system or the new policy management system? Whatever the complexity of that might be in your business. Yeah. So that's the next frontier that we're just starting to see bubble now.
Very, very interesting. So another key element here to all service delivery, when we look at, what's coming inbound, is the whole topic of
Yeah,
documents that
yeah,
are being attached to email. So that can be, a PDF, a scanned document,
yeah,
something that is handwritten. So a lot
yep,
of those documents, that falls under the category that we call IDP, right? Intelligent Document Processing. And I think that, we need to acknowledge that a lot of the documents, when they were designed, the templates, automation is not or was not at the time the main objective, right? So I think it is interesting to maybe help the audience here understand where we are today in 2025 when it comes to IDP and when it comes to understanding and extracting data and structured data from those, ugly, unstructured, unreadable document.
yeah. So this is one of those ones that this is one of those ones that is delightful how this has changed in recent times because the everybody's probably heard of the technology formerly known as optical character recognition, OCR. Yeah. I mean, that's been around since I didn't have grey hair, and probably you might have had hair. The, uh, but but that technology has been around and somewhat useful for quite a long time. But it was only really useful in a world where you understood things in terms of templates and somewhat known structures or copyable structures, things like that. But the Mark One human being does not need a template. Yeah, I can give you 1,500 different invoices from 1,500 different suppliers, and you'd still be able to point out to me where the totals are and what the VAT amount is, even if it was in a foreign language, probably. Yeah. The great thing that we can do now with intelligent document processing is we don't have to worry about templates. Yeah. Because we have now got, that character recognition and data and information structure of a page technology, that's still there. But now we marry that with large language models, with understanding of the world and understanding of generally what an invoice might be, what an ID document might be. And actually, those two now come together in intelligent document processing to go, I can give you a document, let's say it's an insurance policy document. I don't tell you anything more about it than that. And I say, and I ask you the question, can you extract me the policy number, the beneficiaries, and the termination date. And actually, we can do that pretty successfully. Yeah. So that's where intelligent document processing has gone from here's a template, train my model based upon that template, and then I can get some useful data out of it. And it's now gone to here's a scan of a document, here's some questions, go work. Yeah. So that's something that for turning unstructured data into structured data that's really leapt forward significantly in the last few years.
And maybe here, one of the questions that I get all the time, because we are reaching a certain level of maturity with this technology, which is great, right? As you said, it's not uh now, breaking when the template is changing, specifically for the handwritten forms, right? Because a lot of the people that are not aware of this technology, they don't even believe that it is possible for a machine for IDP to ultimately be able to read something that is handwritten by a human.
Yeah. Well, and that's just one of the things that is, you know, we're all used to Alexa, yeah? Yeah, we've all got probably some kind of Alexa or some kind of smart speaker in our home. And they got pretty good at dealing with your voice and my voice and people from Newcastle and all sorts of weird and wonderful accents. It's exactly the same principle. Yeah. It's exactly the same principle. Uh, AI has got pretty good at handwriting recognition. AI has got, if I'm honest, Olivier, better at handwriting recognition than I am. It is, we all find handwriting hard to read sometimes. Yeah. Some people's handwriting, I include myself in this group, is really shocking.
Yeah,
Uh, but AI is actually really, really very effective at reading it.
this is
So
great.
yeah, you just got to go, you got to try it. The key thing around it though is you've got to be able, whatever technology you're deploying, you have to have a way for if the technology can't read it, put it in front of a person.
Exactly.
Yeah, people will call that human in the loop, whatever they want to call it, but that that cooperation between the technology and artificial intelligence and actual intelligence, AI and AI, yeah, that is still needing to be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so let me add, because this is really important. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Newcastle and Geordie, right? I actually believe it's a very interesting
There you
slang.
go.
Uh, uh,
Frenchman who knows a Geordie.
but yeah, to your point, now that we are able to kind of put the technology in the front, doing most of the volume in the IDP world or in the OCR world, we are measuring the accuracy rate. And to your point, it's most likely not going to be 100%. So there is an exception handling
Yeah.
process that needs to be put in place that will take into account the fact that sometimes, maybe 1% of the time, the technology will not be able to, and we will have a human in the loop to be able to. The big difference here is, we are now switching from, having human in the beginning to a human at the end, only handling, a very small subset of the volume.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And this works pretty successfully on alphabet-based languages, character-based languages. We need to remember that a large portion of the global population does not write in 26 characters or 21 characters or whatever. Yeah, writes in a hugely, write in hugely complicated character-based languages. And yet, actually, IDP works pretty successfully in those languages as well.
Yeah. So I mean, we took, two of those interesting example that have been greatly improved with technology, a lot of AI. And when I say AI, I define AI in a broad sense, right? Not just LLM, but everything AI, machine learning related. So
Yeah.
a lot of the people that are running companies, they know that they have to integrate those AI capabilities inside their system,
Yeah.
inside their existing system, and then they start to get, pretty nervous about the idea of potentially having to, get rid of everything they have, rip out everything, and then hire very expensive, data scientist, very expensive consultant that will then, spend a lot of time, effort, and therefore money to be able to integrate those AI capabilities that we just described into their system, right? So, what's your view here? And give us a little bit of a, uh, practical point of view on how it works. I am not a Fortune 500. I am a, mid-sized company, large SMB. How do I do this?
Buy productized solutions is the very simple and pithy answer. So I found myself on a on an AI panel at an economics think tank in the UK recently, and I found myself amongst a bunch of economists, and somebody was presenting a load of data, and he said only 40% of companies in the UK have an AI strategy. And but companies go all the way from, GSK to my wife's gardening business. And my wife does not have an AI strategy in her gardening business, but she does have an app that she points people to that's a plant finder and a plant recognizer app. Is that an AI strategy? It is the use of productized AI for the delivery of a particular service in the area that you're interested in. So actually, the best way to get AI safely deployed at scale is to actually buy productized versions of it. And most AI that you buy right now should be productized. Yeah. Even if you're a reasonably large company, you shouldn't generally be in the game of machine learning ops or training AI models, things like that. Your focus should be on how do I take models that a whole bunch of Olympic class data scientists have trained and make use of them in my world for my purpose. Yeah. So that's the strongest recommendation that I can have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get into the string them, orchestrate them together in a to deliver a service from end to end. Yeah. So that's the way I'd think about it. I mean, I don't know if that chimes with what you see people struggling with.
Yeah, so I'm aligned with you, right? Actually, most of the time, the exercise is to take an existing off-the-shelf model and use it in your environment, and you need to find the right model that exists already and map it to your environment rather than going through the effort of creating something custom. Probably the need for a custom model only applies to 1% of the use cases. The
Yeah.
rest is now you have hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of models that have been developed and fine-tuned by other people, and it's a matter of using them correctly in your environment. So I'm fully
Yeah.
aligned here.
Yeah.
I agree.
The one thing that I'm seeing and actually starting to talk to clients and lawyers in this space as well is because when we start using a model, yeah, we become responsible for its alignment. Yeah, we become responsible for its expression of values to our customers. Yeah, so if let's say we're gonna let a large language model write an email to our customers. Well, actually, the way that it writes that email, the values that it expresses through that email, we own that. It's our responsibility as the service provider. Yeah. So that is one of those things that is when you're in that technology shopping, model shopping mode, yeah, understanding the breadth of training data and understanding the approach to managing balance with it. I'm deliberately avoiding the word bias because bias is a really funny thing. Bias is entirely in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. But the balance in the training set, yeah, that's something to really watch for when you're in the shopping process. Yeah. That's the smart shopper view.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So, um, let's spend a little bit of time. So you are the CEO of Enates. There's a lot of companies building a lot of solutions in the areas of AI, automation, orchestration. So I think it's interesting for our audience to understand, what's your focus? How are you specifically helping service provider to run better operation? How do you do that? What's the innate DNA?
Cool. So, so our DNA is in orchestration. What that really means is making or providing an environment in which all of these different technologies can play a beautiful tune together. So it is to deliver a beautiful service to a customer as the customer experiences it from end to end. Yeah. And the fact is that you won't just have one technology being used as part of that. Yeah. You may have categorization AI. You may have intelligent document processing AI. You may have real intelligence that is carbon based. You may have agentic AI. You may have multiple agents that have different purposes. You might have an agent that is designed to go and fetch data from your SAP system. You might have another agent that is scoped to go and read some data from some public information sources. Yeah. But orchestrating those together to deliver a great service to a customer, that's what our focus is. Yeah. And orchestrating all of them. Yeah, because that's one of the big things about delivering services and running complex operations is it's no use if you've got half of the service controlled and the other half of the service shambolic. Yeah. You need to be able to measure and count all of the service and control all of the service and automate some of the service. Yeah. And that's what you can do with great orchestration.
And that's, if I may, that's typically what we see when we work with clients and they are aiming at improving a part of their operation. They are aiming at improving sort of certain set of KPIs. Is that exactly what you said? You do not just deploy one piece of technology or one use cases. You have to go and tackle multiple areas with multiple solutions that are all aiming at the same goal, which is to improve operations KPI, improve customer satisfaction. Sometimes, let's be frank, improve overall cost structure as well.
Yeah,
And it
totally.
is it is the capability to orchestrate all of them towards the same goal that makes a difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That is exactly it. That bringing things together to achieve that goal, that is the key. Yeah. That's the key to delivering really strong value. And we've seen, yeah, we've seen a pivot over the last few years with our client base. So in that area of crazy RPA excitement, uh, the focus at that time was just go and automate stuff, just go and automate some things. Yeah. And actually you're automating 10 minutes of this person's job, 5 minutes of that person's job, 2 minutes of that other person's job, but you're not actually saving any money. Yeah. You might be improving the accuracy of the end-to-end service a little bit. Yeah. But actually, by doing that, you're not actually saving any money because you're not taking a holistic approach. So really the approach that we see to success at scale is going operationalize first. So get control first. Yeah. So that you have a data set that you can then drive against and measure against. Optimize, as in use some of that data to just realize that you're doing some daft things and stop doing them. Then automate. Use the data to give you the clear data set to say, these are the things that it's actually worth automating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this the need to have the end-to-end view that is backed up by, a data-driven understanding of the environment so you can really baseline correctly and go automate is absolutely great, right? So I think that we have managed here to give, and it's very interesting for people who are not yet aware that platform like yours exists, right? To give this what I would call appetite to go and have a look at your platform and understand what that orchestration can bring to the table, right? So maybe as a closing comment here, uh, maybe you want to invite people to go visit either your website or a
Yeah.
demo or something.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to find out more about Innate, what orchestration can do to deliver great B2B services, then check out our website. It's at innate.io, enate.io.
Thank you, Kit, for the time. It was a great conversation, and hopefully, I will see you in person soon. Have a great day.
Great to talk, OG.
Bye bye.
See you soon.